Hi, so I wanted to check in and share a video in regards to my spiritual journey, briefly covering my process of how I've made it from a Christian home, going to church, being a preacher's daughter, to now I'm actually I'm spiritual and I'm okay with that, and I don't have to be labeled or confined or restricted with certain titles or organizations. And I wanted just drop videos as far as expressing the freedom that I have now, that I have removed labels, that I have stepped into my truth completely. And I'm actually at a point now where I really don't care. So either you hate it or you love it at this point. And it took me a while to get here, but I'm thankful that I am here at this point, and I have appreciated every experience that has allowed me to figure myself out. And I'm still discovering new and beautiful things about me, even the things that I know I need work on. I no longer pressure myself to hurry up and excel or thrive in a certain part of my life. I take one day at a time, I take one moment at a time, and stay in the present as much as possible. So with that being said, I was born to a Christian mother. As a matter of fact, my mother became saved or a Christian when she was pregnant with me. And at the time it was prophesied while I was in her womb that I would basically have gifts and, to protect me, especially because I have these gifts and I was a special child. I believe we're all special, but I do know that everyone has certain gifts, certain purposes that are unique to them. So with that being said, I grew up in a predominantly Christian home structure, and it was strict a lot of the times. Not all times, but a lot of the times it was very strict. And I really didn't have room for freedom of expression or creativity because everything had to be funneled through the lens or through the eyes of being a Christian. So it seemed like, and I may be wrong, but in my experience as far as growing up and even now, as long as you say in the name of Jesus or in the name of God, you almost get a pass for certain things. For instance, I knew I had gifts of seeing the future. I knew I had gifts as far as reading energy. I knew I had the ability to even see people that have crossed over and do energy work. But you didn't use those terms. Those terms were too out there. They were worldly. And when you have certain gifts, you use certain terms so that it's easy on the ears in a Christian home and in a Christian atmosphere. Okay. And for instance, you will, instead of saying you're channeling or you're receiving downloads, the Holy Spirit told you, or you had a feeling. And you got a vision, or you had a dream and God told you, and so you kind of had to articulate it a certain way to get that pass. Growing up, my mom eventually became a minister, and then years down the road, my dad became a minister, and they were very active in the church. As a matter of fact, we had Bible studies at the house sometimes and sometimes at different venues. And with that experience, I really didn't know who I was because my personality was constantly blanketed over over religion. Like religion was always covering me. So even to the point where certain activities I didn't participate in as far as school or, certain holidays because they were of the devil. And coming from different influences from Church and God of Christ, Pentecostal, excuse me, even Baptist, Protestant, there was a lot of religious organizational influences. And again, because naturally I wanted to do good, and kind of I never really had an issue with peer pressure to steer me away into other things that I didn't want to do. Most of the things I did do was because I wanted to do it. So whenever I did something that was outside of the box, it was deemed as someone was influencing me, and even more restrictions would come about because of that. Excuse me. As I got older and I went to college, that's where I really got a chance to confront some things within myself, to really understand myself a little bit more and my personality and just who I was, knowing what shadow self, higher self, different dimensions, all of this kind of stuff. I didn't really get into it for real until I got to college. Now, a lot of people I came in contact with help expose me to new and different ideas and perspectives. And it was really refreshing, but at the same time, it was scary, because if you've been told that you have to do this or you'll go to hell, or there's damnation for your soul if you even try to have some form of pleasure, it's almost like that fire and brimstone message. You kind of lose your way as far as wanting to even try new and different things, even if it isn't something damning. So backtrack. When I was a child, I did do a lot of laying of hands. I was in the church as far as speaking in tongues. I do know that what I spoke as far as tongues, even as far as channeling, I know that was real. Even with doing energy work, I can remember countless times where I could literally feel the energy leaving my body and being channeled or directed to areas of a person that needed to be rectified or healed, and feeling the drain of my energy. So I really had to protect myself. And the best way I knew how to protect myself is not being as active in church, because it was so many interactions with people just wanting to be healed, just wanting change in their life, and being almost desperate for anything to remedy that. And sometimes I was used as a tool to help people. And at times my mother definitely would, step in and be like, okay, she's not doing this anymore, or you're not gonna lay your hands on my child or touch my child or what have you. But in a lot of instances, I was out there in, revivals, church settings, or what have you, and laying hands on people. So I remember countless times hands being laid on me as far as the pastors or what have you. And they were supposed to be helping me, but in actuality, I would literally feel me helping them. And if they had ailments, I knew that my energy was directed towards the areas that they needed it, because I would hear them say it where they felt it at. So when I went to college, even before then, being in high school, I really started pulling back. I was really active in church, doing Bible studies, speaking engagements, choir, praise team, all of that, dance, you name it, I was active. But closer to time for me to go to college, I really peeled away a lot of that activity. And even still in college, my parents still tried to have some type of control in my affairs, my personal affairs, by, making certain rules where I had to come home, making rules such as, come home like every other weekend when I was living out of the city. And, I was like, dang, I should have stayed at home if I wasn't able to enjoy my college experience. But they were so scared that I would be influenced and, get turned out. Because there's always this idea like preachers' daughters, they're freaks and they can get turned out and they this, that, and the third. And I'm like, look, you don't have to worry about that with me because I'm on a mission. I knew what I came there to do as far as my collegiate activities. And I didn't have time to be BSing. And again, it was that thing where they thought that I was a poor little girl that didn't have good sense. And I wasn't prepared for the world. But little did they know I was more resilient than what they were giving me credit for. And I didn't dabble into certain things because I didn't want to, simply put. And, I carried myself the way I wanted to carry myself. I behaved the way I wanted to behave. And the influences of other people, I didn't have to worry about that. So, I guess after they saw like Lakeisha is going to do her thing, we just gonna have to let her go and be her. And the quicker they realize that, the better it will be. That's how I felt. Because I was determined that once I found out the different pieces of me and who I really was, because it was still fragmented in a sense, because again, it's like I had to reintroduce myself to the world and to myself because I was so influenced by my upbringing of being in the church and being in a strict home. My dad was in the military on top of that, and I was the baby girl. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And, their fears and hangups of what they used to do around my age and what they did even at their age, they were scared that I would be, controlled and manipulated by some other type of organization, group, people, whatever they had in their mind. So being in college, I met a lot of people that had different perspectives, as I previously mentioned. And I took courses that based on religious studies. I took a lot of cultural classes, and about the African American religious experience, even the Book of the Dead. So I really enjoy myself just learning these things because I was like, wow, I have this freedom and I don't have to sneak to read these books. I can ask questions and not feel like that was a dumb question or, be like a condescending kind of feeling or whatever. And I just had the freedom to explore. And I I met people along the way that shared books and information with me, and I would go to different classes. I will also go to lectures and listen to people. At one point, I had the privilege of meeting Dick Gregory. Afeni Shakur had came to my school, and this was a HBCU, so I really got all of the things that I wish I had growing up, and Black empowerment, all of that. Even on campus, I noticed there was a group of people that were called the tree people, and they would always gather around in a circle around this special tree, and hearing drums or the bongos going on, or congos, whatever I think they're called bongos. Hearing those going off, seeing fraternities and sororities do their thing. Just everyone is doing their own thing and expressing themselves, and everyone is trying to find their way. And when you're going through that college experience, you are going through a real life college experience, a spiritual one on top of that. It's like all together. And I learned to integrate life faculties versus compartmentalizing them. when I notice in the Western world, compartmentalization and categories are very important. But in my culture, in the indigenous culture, we don't categorize in, everything is spiritual. Your journey is spiritual. Life is spiritual. Your food is spiritual. The way you sing and express yourself is spiritual. And I really got a chance to confront some fears that I had about myself on how impactful I could be, how beautiful I am as far as my heart space, even physically, to appreciate every piece of me, even the parts that I felt like I needed improvement. Spirituality helped that. And as far as lecturers, or as far as people that I looked up to when I started my spiritual journey, was Dr. Jewel Pookrum, Brother Hammond, Brother Panic, Dr. Delbert Blair. This man is very controversial, but his information really checked out for me during my journey. The Nuwapian Nation, where I was going to school, I engaged with a lot of the members. I wasn't a part of the organization, but Dr. Malachi Z. York information, the scrolls, that helped me. In the videos, I used to get these DVDs and go to the different areas to pick up scrolls and read, and the information. Now, whether or not he did this, that, and the third as far as his personal life, or if he got this information, received this information from somewhere else that he didn't really quote his sources, that's another topic. But the information that he provided really helped me and influenced me to kind of pivot my idea of how life is and supposed to be, and connect the dots as far as breath, the importance of breathing. Dr. Layla Africa helped me as far as my diet, and just how I carried myself, as well as, caring for my child. So, I mean, the list go on as far as all the influences that I had based on my research. But when you ask for guidance and you ask to be shown the way, or as far as your way, books will show up, people will show up as guides, as guideposts to help you, to be the lamps on your path. And, it's okay to fumble a little bit. It's okay to pause for a little bit, because some of the information you will come across will sometimes be overwhelming and can startle you or make you feel like, hold on, I don't know if I can handle this. This is a bit much to chew. Sometimes those occurrences will happen. I also was engaged in different spiritual groups on Facebook. There was some hit or misses on that, but I learned a lot as far as having hands-on spirituality, not just reading about it, not just watching it, not just listening to meditation music or what have you, but actually putting into practice those things that I know. The only way you're going to know as far as this life and your journey, FYI, if you didn't know, you have to try and test things. You won't know. You won't know your boundaries. You won't know what you're capable of. You don't know your gifts unless you try them out. If you do not take the time to know yourself, get to know who you are, to get your foundation together, your house is going to fall every single time. Because otherwise, you're going to look for people like me, and I don't mind being a guide along your journey, but you're going to be looking for something like a reader, a medium, a channeler, a priestess, a priest. You're going to look for an energy healer, all these different things, a Reiki healer. You're going to be looking for all these things and doing rituals and all this kind of stuff because you're searching, but you don't have it in the proper perspectives. Conjure Queen, I have to shout her out. Her messages really helped me throughout my journey. I've noticed some of the ones that I was following as far as, social media, they've kind of went back and reverted back to the origins of their beliefs, and to each his own. Whatever you have to do to get to wherever you need to go, I'm all for it, whatever. But I do notice that when people do get scared and they have not truly tested the waters as they should, they retract back and they go back to what they deem as safe, because now they have answers that they don't know if they're comfortable with. And with my journey, I'm becoming more and more comfortable with my truth. I'm becoming more and more comfortable with what information comes to me, the downloads. I'm becoming more confident in what I hear, and I don't question myself as far as what has been imparted into me. And so with that journey, you have to, it's like trial and error, because that's what life is all about. You're not here to be safe. It's never been safe. Safe in this fact that, yes, I'm secure, I'm provided for, I'm cared for, I'm loved, I'm protected. Yes, that's safe. But the safe as far as being oblivious or being out of the way from every single thing and not having any injury, not having any trauma, not having any experience that is deemed like failure or what have you. You have to be willing to get on the deep end. You have to be willing to get in the deep end with your spiritual journey, because you get that security within religious practices, and you sometimes can stagnate your growth. Now, if you can be within your religious practice and your religious faith and still evolve, by all means, go for it. I just know from my experience that, I couldn't do it. I had to step outside of the box. As I have evolved, I have learned new gifts. I have obtained new gifts. I have been able to keep educating myself. And that's another thing. You're always learning. I don't believe you're always completely healed. I think that healing is a process that is never ending. You're always going to come into contact with things that will give you little scabs and scars, or experiences that are there to help you grow. And I feel like from my experience and from what I've observed, it's kind of like Pac-Man, or it's like a game sequence where you go up a level, then you go to different series or steps, and you go up another level, and then you on ground one of that level, and then you go up to these series of steps. Just like, I don't know if people are familiar with like the government, where they have grades and then they have steps. That's how I feel like the healing process, growth, your evolution, whatever your purpose here on earth, you have those significant elevations. Now, if you have to repeat a step or a grade, that's very possible. So you can learn whatever you whatever you missed or you were supposed to obtain. I do believe that you have to repeat some things, or it will be shown to you until you get it. And it's up to you to decide how many times you're going to go through that, how many cycles of that you're going to go through, okay, until you finally grasp it. But as long as you grasp it, as long as you get it, that's all that matters. Time, we get so bogged down with time in our daily affairs that we panic sometimes. We freak out when it comes to the messages we receive that we're supposed to do another go round, or we're supposed to slow down, and you're like, how can I slow down? I only have this amount of time to live, or I got so many, I have so many things I need to accomplish in this lifetime, or, you know, putting all these different burdens on you unnecessarily. Yes, yes, you should always be moving and going and progressing, but it's okay sometimes where you have to take your time and regroup. So don't ever feel pressure. Don't pressure yourself or add that extra stress as far as your growth process. I also learned to not compare myself with others, to appreciate the gifts that have been given to me, and to cultivate my gifts, to do whatever I need to do to get to where I need to be. And that definitely comes with meditation, connecting with your guides, connecting with source, God, divine, spirit, whoever you connect with them and connect with them often. And connecting with them is connecting with yourself, and it's not divided. Okay. And in order to really grow and thrive, you have to be connected with yourself. Being connected with yourself is being connected to God, is being connected to source, spirit, the divine. So that's pretty much my process from growing up in the church all the way to where I am now. And where I'm at now, I'm an energy healer. I do energy healing, dealing with your ancestral karmas, which I call generational attachments or limitations. I deal with spiritual blocks and limitations and then attachments that you may have, especially connecting to other people or energies or deities or entities. I also do readings, psychic readings. I channel and receive information that is pertinent to help you on your path, whether it's from your guides, from source, from my guides, relaying information to you. I do spiritual counseling, which is a little bit different than reading, which is more so advice as well as spiritual downloads. I also have love readings as far as couples, and separate counseling sessions free of charge with those couples readings. So if you go on my website, InAlignmentMinistries.com, you can check out what I offer, the rates, how to get in contact with me. All of that information is in the details in my website, as well as this particular video down below in the description. So that's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions or comments, okay, feel free to comment below. And I look forward to uploading more videos in the future. Be well.